Hi, I'm Natalie Mullen, former people pleaser and queen of doing way too much, turned holistic life coach and wellness educator for purpose seeking women of color and allies. Welcome to From a Full Cup. On this podcast, I teach you how to use the 12 pillars of wellness to discover your purpose, up-level your well-being, and create the life of your dreams, because we all deserve to be fulfilled, and you simply can't pour from an empty cup. Through candid conversations, insightful interviews, and motivational nuggets, you'll feel inspired, empowered, and supported as together we navigate this thing called life, holistically and with your well-being at the center. If you're committed to personal development and you're ready for more, you're in the right place. Now let's get started.
I found myself with $200 to my name and a 476 credit score, and I just felt really unattractive to myself financially.
Hey y'all, I can't wait for you to listen to today's conversation with Shay. Shay is a licensed financial professional, and what I enjoy about this conversation is Shay is very compassionate. And I think having compassion and empathy for people when you're talking about finances is really important because, again, there can be so much guilt and shame associated with the topic. So sit back, take notes, and let's get into this conversation. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From a Full Cup. I'm so excited to have with me today Shay Myers, and Shay is a licensed financial professional, and we're just going to be getting into a great conversation about finances. So, Shay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, let's start off, Shay, with our This Filled My Cup segment. I'd love to hear what's your feedback on one of the past episodes that really spoke to you.
Yes, so I listened to the episode of Protect Your Energy, which is all about what I've been doing over the past 4 years. I'm a self-proclaimed master at protecting my energy, but this episode was a friendly reminder. My friend circle has definitely changed as my life interests goals have changed over the years. I don't go to the same places anymore. I refuse to torture myself by trying to fit in or enjoy spaces I've clearly outgrown.
That is a whole word there. I'm going to have to talk about this later on.
Yeah.
I have all my months are themed. So one of them is going to be about relationships, but outgrowing people and outgrowing spaces. Some
Yeah.
people don't outgrow. I don't know why. But I think that's a part of life. Sometimes there are some people you just need to, it doesn't mean you have to hardcore cut them off, but like you're just not on the same mindset anymore. You don't have the same goals. You're not headed the same direction. And sometimes it's just time to walk away.
Yeah. And because the topic is finances, I found that as I moved to my industry and my career, it's not that I always want to talk about money and finances. It's just what I care about and what I want to spend my time doing is a lot different. And so my friend circle has changed because of that, right? Like you know how they say, if you have 5 broke friends, we'll be the 6th, and you can replace broke with whatever word you want. But I really truly believe in that. And so I find as you grow and mature, your friend circle may change, and that's not a bad thing.
No, not a bad thing at all. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. It's finances. You're a licensed financial professional, but how did you get into like this line of work? What was your relationship like with money growing up and like your money story? Just all the details.
Yeah. So relationship with money, non-existent. I pretty much didn't have very many responsibilities when I was a kid, and I just thought we just save. I wanted to try to save for what? Like if I get into a little kerfuffle, you're going to pay for it. You're going to help me out. So I didn't learn any real money habits, and I worked very many jobs my entire life. Probably about 10 years of working before I actually decided I want to change my life. And I would start a job with no money and end a job with no money, and it was just that cycle. And when I was in college, I saw people traveling and doing all these things. And I was like, assuming that their parents were paying for it, not realizing that they actually got a job with making money and managing it better than I was. Right. So when I was 28, I found myself with $200 to my name and a 476 credit score. And I just felt really unattractive to myself financially. So it wasn't about trying to keep up with the Joneses or create this persona for other people. It was annoying for me to have to rely on my parents for simple things, like not having enough money for the metro pass and having to walk to the gym. which is like 40 minutes there and back.
Oh, wow.
So things like that, not being able to go to friends' birthdays because I didn't have money for that. It was just like it needed to stop, you know? And so I stumbled into this deal because once I got a full-time job at 28, I wanted to be better. And I went and I sought out the help, right? And I always tell people that I was a client first. So I needed help. I got the help and I saw how impactful that was. And my advisor, you know, inspired me to take my passion for teaching and my own 0 to 100 finance story and pursue a career where I could really make a systemic change.
I love the idea that you were a client first because then you know when you're working
Yes.
with your clients, you know exactly what it was like. And I think there's a kind of like a solidarity or a bonding that can happen over what might
Mm,
seem like the negative, right? Because people can be really
yeah.
embarrassed about their financial stories. Lord knows I've had to do a lot of work on
Yeah.
mine too. So there can be a lot of embarrassment, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. So it can be
Mhm.
really powerful for someone to know, well, you know what, this person was also there. Like they also
Yeah.
had a low credit score. They also didn't have money, but they were able to
Mhm.
get out of it. And I think that's what you
Yeah.
want to see is when you're working with someone, like, can they understand my position? Do they, because
Exactly.
sometimes you have friends and like, they just don't get it. If they haven't been in your shoes before, it's sort of like,
Yes.
okay, so I think having that as your personal
Mhm.
story is really powerful. And, we're talking about shame and guilt. And so these are some of the emotions that come with finances. What are some of the
Right.
fears? What are the fears that people have around money and finances?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is the scarcity mindset. If you grew up in poverty, let's say, and there wasn't, you didn't always get what you wanted, maybe as a kid, or you weren't able to, have the elaborate holidays and things like that. There's that mindset of if I do get money, I need to hold on to it and I don't want to, maybe invest in things that could actually help me. Or there's also the mindset that people think that they don't deserve abundance. They don't think that they deserve to have nice things or experience luxury in certain ways. And of course, those are limited beliefs, but money mindset is one of those things that's often left out of the conversation when we talk about finances. In order to move forward, you do have to reflect. So there has to be some sort of step back and figure out where are these actions coming from? How did I feel before? What was my upbringing? What were my parents believe about money? Did I inherit or internalize any of those things to be able to let go and move forward? So that's the piece that I'm finding a lot of people. They think that they can just come in, learn all this stuff, and move forward. Your task may be on your shoulders. And so addressing and not avoiding is something that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful revelation because the thing is, when we talk about our money beliefs and growing up, it's not even necessarily the things that people told you. It's the things that you
Hmm.
observe. So like if you as
Yes.
a child wanted to like go to McDonald's or you wanted to
Hmm.
I don't know, go to Canada's Wonderland or do something fun and your parents said we don't have the money for it, you
Yes.
automatically are going to absorb that, right? Or if they say to you things like money doesn't grow on trees or no, that's not
Yeah.
for our family. No, you can't go on the school trip. No, you
Hmm.
can't get this name brand clothing. Like all of those
Yeah.
messages, you start to adopt it. And I find that people go one of
Yeah.
two ways. Like they either go and say, I didn't have money growing up. And so now I'm going to live my life differently and I'm going to spend, and I'm going to give myself all
Hmm.
the things I didn't get when I was younger.
Yeah.
Or they're like still in poverty mindset. They're like, well, I only know not having money. So I'm not even going to try to get myself out of this. I'm okay with the paycheck to paycheck for the rest of my life
Yeah.
because this is how it's always been.
Yeah. And what you said was so true because, especially in our communities, people don't talk about money. So sometimes it's not really true. It's not what people say. It's maybe conflict that surrounded money, like you, that family members were at odds with each other because someone didn't pay someone back or whatever the case was, or relationships were strained because of a lack of money. And so we know that children are very observant and they're sponges and really do has to start being more transparent about certain things. Because even if a parent said, you know what, I don't know anything about money. So what I'm doing may not be the best, but I encourage you to seek someone who has better habits. Imagine just the relationship that creates if we're able to be like, I don't know. Because there's also a lot of people who pretend like they know, and then they're teaching, I don't want to say wrong things, but they're just teaching habits indirectly in a way that's really, really not helpful.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who are actually really confident in giving advice that they shouldn't. Like they should have
Oh,
no business
loud
giving
and
the
wrong.
advice that they do. And the thing is, it's so harmful because the people who listen
Yeah.
to their advice, they're like, "Oh, well, so and so told me," and then they just, go
Mhm.
down these different paths, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, like why didn't you speak to someone who actually knew?" Or
Yeah.
just double
Yes.
check the information,
Mhm.
verify it, just check another source. We can't just take one
Exactly.
source as fact and truth. You should actually be
Yeah.
hearing the same thing multiple times from multiple credible people. That way
Mhm.
you know, okay, this information really is good, and you don't need to
Yeah.
just move and leap on the very first piece of advice that you hear.
Yeah. Personal finance is personal. These popular questions that people ask, like, should I pay off debt or invest? Which comes first? And it's like, it depends on you and where you are and your cash flow and all of that stuff. So it's very easy to paint this specific picture of a result that maybe people want, but everybody is different. Somebody's income, the amount of debt that they have, if they've already been investing, all of these little nuances will determine what somebody should do. And so it is important to not focus too much on what everybody else is doing and make sure that you are getting advice pertaining to your specific situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, especially too, because even things like risk tolerance and just your
Mhm.
emotional relationship with money, like some
Yeah.
people, you have to approach money really differently and you have to just start
Yes.
off, okay, we're going to just do really micro steps here because for
Mhm.
some people, there's so much trauma
Yeah.
involved when they think about money that they'll just shut down if
Yeah.
you go hardcore, like, okay, we're going to do this, and that. So I
Yeah.
love that you said personal finance is personal.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
you know this because you have your own personal story. So you mentioned a bit earlier that you had a credit score of 476. So,
Mhm.
that's a little low. It's a little low. Um, but you turned it around. You saved forty thousand
Yes.
dollars and invested $20,000 in 9 months. And I was like, say what? So please
Yeah.
share with the people and with me. How did you do this? How did you make this turnaround?
Yes. So one thing that's really big about me is that I'm really transparent. I have been blessed to be living with my family. We get along, which is amazing. So that definitely helps. I really am against people painting this picture that they're achieving all these amazing things and they're not sharing how. So of course, rent is one of the biggest expenses for people. And by not having that, that definitely helps. So I want to be transparent about that. I was working a full-time job and I think I was getting paid pretty good. Like now I don't even know what that means. Because some people will be like 50,000 is great. And others will be like, nah, if you're making less than 100K, like you're struggling. So,
Yeah, you're on the poverty lines.
yeah, but on top of the salary, I was also earning commission as well. So I did have a great consistent cash flow, which really helped. But a key piece is my spending habits and my mindset because before, anytime I worked, I would get paid and my paycheck would be gone the next day. If not the next day, the next 2 days. This time, I had sat down with my advisor and we came up with a plan. Biggest goal was to build an emergency fund. I had never saved probably more than $100 in my life. And so we wanted to make sure that this fund could cover me for 6 months. And so that was the goal. My very first saving goal was actually $1,000. I did not believe that I would be able to save more than that, but I did end up saving $10,000 within 5 months and then on to $40,000 by month 9 of that year. And it was simply mindset. I was tired of being broke. I was tired of the situation I was in. And I kind of went cold turkey with the spending. So no Uber Eats, no shopping, no extracurriculars for 6 months. That was my goal. And I was able to save probably about 80% of my paycheck. And that's once I saw that $10,000 amount in my bank account, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way I could ever go back to how I was. Now, did I never spend ever again? Obviously not. But my mindset was different. Like if I just focused and stayed on the course of this goal and just was more disciplined and aware of my spending, I could really do some great things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's great because, you know, the thing is, a lot of people have a goal to save for an emergency fund. And what
Mhm.
happens, and I'll be transparent, it happens to me too. It's like I
Yeah.
have the emergency fund, but then I got to tap into that emergency fund. And
Yeah.
then, you know, we just keep
Mhm.
kind of going in this cycle of it in and out. Sometimes I'm still confused, y'all. So this
Yeah.
episode is just as much for me as it is for the listeners. But, um, you know, like that discipline to be like, you're not paying for anything for 6 months. How did
Yeah.
it feel? Like, did it feel like something you were happy to do? Were you sad if you couldn't like get Uber Eats? Like, you know, because a lot of people are like, well, I deserve this. I work hard. Like, it's
Yeah.
been a stressful week. I just need this. I need that. Or I have to go to friends' events and I have to get a gift. I have
Yeah.
to get an outfit. So I just want to know more about like what was going through your mind during that time and the emotions that related.
Yeah. Yeah. So the and just a little backstory. I had been following my advisor for many years, and then I met her at an open mic. So she was asked to speak because the demographic of the open mic were young, marginalized folk, and the organizers wanted to be like, "Hey, if you need help, I'm here." And so I got to meet her in person, saw that personality and the online persona was the same. Attended a free financial literacy workshop that she put on, and I was like, okay, I learned the ABCs of finance. I need you to now teach me exactly what I need to do. I went into this 6 month of dry season, really focused on maximizing the money that I was going to be making. And so all of the information that I had learned, so I met her in November and I started my savings journey in January. In those short few months, she had already changed my mindset about everything that I had been doing before. So I was already very, very serious about, I think this cold turkey strategy is going to work. And I realized over the years that I do have a bit of an all or nothing personality in certain ways. And so I was completely committed because she had given me a plan. Like, hey, if you save this much by that, like you'll be here. And I said, I want that. And so I didn't feel any type of way. I meal prep Wednesdays and Sundays. I would grocery shop. I would pack my lunch, pack my snacks to work. I was really, really, very committed. And so I didn't, and also too, I don't know. I never felt any sort of like FOMO or anything like that. I was so committed to make sure that that year was my turnaround year. And so I, I just made that decision. And, you know, I had her support. She was always checking in on me and congratulating me and picking me up. And so I didn't feel any way to give me that 6 months of just focus. And then guess what? The next year to 2 years after that, I was traveling. I was buying all the clothes that I wanted, that I needed. You know, like, for example, I need to revamp my wardrobe. I haven't been able to do that. Just, it's like the little bit of work that you put in allowed me to get what I wanted. So it was just a mindset shift. And once that mindset shift, like, it's game over in the best way possible. Yeah.
I love that. You talked about a lot of things. You talked about accountability. You talked about
Yeah.
just educating yourself and ramping up. So it wasn't just like a
Yeah.
flick of a switch. Oh, all of a sudden my mindset's changed.
Hmm.
Hearing her those multiple times before you actually started your savings journey, that
Yeah.
helped you prep your mind. And that's why I think it's so important to just absorb content that supports the vision
Yeah.
that you have for yourself or supports the change that you want to make. Like, even if you're not there right away, the more you keep listening to things like that, the more you even keep
Yeah.
hearing other people's success stories, the more you
Mhm.
believe, like, okay, you know what? That if it happened for Shay, that could happen for me. If it happened for this person, it can happen for me too. And you start
Yeah.
to like build up your confidence, like, okay. And I like what you said, like, it wasn't forever. It's not like you don't spend now. It's just like it was for a season
Exactly.
to get you to a
Mhm.
goal. And now it's just a part of your lifestyle. So you don't necessarily have to cut back so much, but you already got that like baseline that you were looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important. Now, you you talked about something on your Instagram, and this is going left for a second, but it really kind of struck me because I know a lot of young people who've passed away within the last year. Like, just
Yep.
randomly, so unexpected, in great health. And it has
Yeah.
really kind of shooken me up. And so what you posted on Instagram is that you're seeing like a lot of people doing these GoFundMe's, which obviously means that the families or the person who's passed away, like the finances were not set up, right, to accommodate them in
Yeah.
this situation.
Mhm.
Why is it so important for people to get their finances together, regardless of their age, and to have
Yeah.
a financial plan?
Yeah. You know, we don't love talking about the possibility of us getting sick or passing away. Those two life events have such a dramatic effect on our finances, and that's why we need to have a financial plan. So on the side of getting sick, most of the time that's going to negatively impact our ability to work and make money. And if we don't have any plan, we don't have a savings, we don't have anything like that, we don't have this financial backing to take care of those things. But also, even if we do have savings or investments, having to dip into those things is going to derail us from our goals as well. So making sure that we have the right products and solutions in place to prevent that is really, really important. And then that's for everybody, especially people who have responsibilities. So if I'm contributing financially to my household, I need to make sure that if anything happens to me, that the household doesn't fall with me. And that's usually what happens. People with children, people with spouses, people who have mortgages, people who are the ATM to their family do not have a financial plan in place. And when something happens to them, everybody goes down. And the reality is, I always tell people, talking about things does not mean that it's going to happen. So talking about the possibility of us dying or getting sick does not mean it's going to happen right now. But guess what? Everybody has an expiry date. Anybody has a potion that makes it work forever. Like, let me know because I want to live long, like really want to live long forever. But yeah, these things are happening. And I actually had written down a list of maybe 10 situations that I'm aware of that happened that included sickness or death, just because it's so important to realize that these things aren't happening to like these random crazy stories. It's the teacher, it's the uncle, and this is a real situation. 24-year-old boy had a heart attack and passed away. He was my mentor's cousin's cousin, perfectly healthy, goes to the gym, heart attack. Like things are happening. The environment, the air quality is worse than it, used to be. Stress from workplace and maybe stress from family. Maybe it's even financial stress. So there's all these different factors that come into play. And if we don't have a foundation, then our financial house is going to crumble.
No, absolutely. And something else that even came to mind too is thinking about like layoffs, right? And it's like I remember talking to
Mhm.
someone and he was laid off for an entire year. And he still had
Wow.
to pay the mortgage, and he still had like you mentioned, like, are you the ATM for
Yeah.
your family? Like he was the one who was
Yeah.
contributing, right? And I was like, oh my God, a year is a really long time. And this is a very
Yeah.
hardworking person. So they were going to interview after interview. They were trying so hard. They're very well qualified, but for whatever reason, it just kept not working out. And
Yeah.
he was just running on his savings, but his savings had literally, it was almost exhausted. But I was like in my head, good
Mhm.
for you that you had savings to support yourself for a year. Because let me tell you, if I was to lose my job for a year, like
Yeah.
as is, I'm not quite set up yet to be able to
Yeah.
do that. So his story really made me think like, no, Natalie, you've really got to work on this a little bit harder. And
Yeah.
it takes time, right? But at least if you start to
For
build that
sure.
nest, because you just never know. And I think it's so important, as you said, to just have the plan, because
Mhm.
you're not saying it's gonna happen, but if it does happen and you have no plan, you've already
Exactly.
taken everybody else down. So it's not just about you recovering, it's how does everybody else
Mhm.
recover, and are they even in a position? If it's children, what can they do, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they can go out
Exactly.
at work,
You gotta get
right?
fed.
So
Yeah. 1,000%. So two things. One is, yeah, the job market has been real wonky, and people need to realize that just because you stop working or something happens to you, your bills every month they're gonna be knocking on the door. Like, I don't care what's going on with you, you owe me this. The bills don't stop. And so there needs to be some sort of plan, right? So I completely
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, like, what are some misconceptions that you've had people share with you that you've had to like debunk?
Yes. So they're surrounding three major topics. And I always tell people that wealthy people love these three things: insurance, investments, and debt. And those are
Okay.
three of those topics that a lot of us have a hesitance towards talking about, or we just simply don't understand. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that debt is bad. Wealthy people actually leverage debt to build wealth because, for example, taking out a loan means that I don't have to pay taxes on that. And also too, it allows me to access money, other people's money sooner than it would take for me to save. It does take a while to save, but if I have access to credit, I can use that to invest in something that can earn me money. And so it's all about us. And I find that the accountability piece along with mindset is something that we don't love talking about. But how you use your debt or your credit cards, etc., is going to determine the result. And so if I use this credit card to invest in something that's going to allow me to make more money, then that would be an investment in myself. If I use this credit card to buy a bunch of materialistic things that I never even end up wearing, that's wasted money. Both of those things are me though. So I want us to shift how we feel about debt and understand that if we leverage it properly, it can be a super, super powerful tool. I would say that's one of the biggest misconceptions. Wealthy people work hard, or sorry, they work smart, not hard. They invest, right? They understand the power of collaboration and teamwork versus people who have a poor mind are very individualistic. They're afraid to invest. They think that working hard is going to get them to their goals. So it's a difference in mindset and skill set. But everybody has the right to be wealthy. You simply have to learn the rules of the money game and apply them, and your chances of getting there are a lot higher.
Learn the rules of the game. Love that. And
Yes.
so let me ask you then, we talk about well-being on this show, right? It's all about wellness. And so I find finances is such a big pillar that impacts people's
Yeah.
well-being, like
Mhm.
majorly. So in your work, how do you see people's well-being being impacted because of either a poor relationship with money or just not enough money?
Yeah. So the relationship between money and wellness is so connected. I always tell people that, how you feel about yourself, your level of confidence will directly impact how you manage your money and how you see money. And then lack of money also can impact your self love and self confidence. So they are so intertwined. One of the biggest things I'm finding now is people a lot of people, they're not moving in ways that actually make sense for them or align with them. They're doing things to achieve this sort of social status because they're inspired or they're watching people who are just like almost exploiting their social status. And I talk to a lot of people and sometimes it's tough. Like sometimes people are really struggling and they're posting their designer shoes, their car, the rims and all of this stuff. And so you had mentioned this earlier, consuming. When you start to consume certain things, first, if you're using social media as an educational platform, then the more you consume certain content, the more you see it. So if you did want to start shifting your mindset when it came to money, you just need to watch a few videos and now your whole feed is filled with that, right? But it's so important to consume content that isn't so glamorized or glamorous and exaggerated. They say all the time, like the Bill Gates of the world were wearing Reeboks and New Balance sneakers and white t-shirts from Walmart. Well, you can't see well, or you shouldn't be able to. Maybe you can see it based on what people have, but that doesn't mean that they actually have it. And so there needs to be a humility when it comes to your financial status. And you want to focus more on what are the habits that you're doing to change your life, not in a way to show off for other people or make people think that you are a certain way, but to actually improve your own life.
I love that. Actually, I remember hearing, I can't remember who it was, but she said her goal was stealth wealth. And I love that. Like,
I like
be like,
that.
have your money, but nobody needs to know you have it. And let me ask you, what's your legacy here? What is the goal of all this work that you're doing? What do you hope to have as your legacy?
Yes. So the main thing is there's a part of what I'm doing that is disrupting the system. So teaching people financial literacy is disrupting the system because it's not in the education system for a reason. It's not taught readily for a reason. And so by me doing what I'm doing, I am being a disruptor. And a lot of people might think like you can't change the system. And you know what? With the powers that be, the people that are in power, maybe we can't. So okay, then I won't change the system. I'll change the people, right? And so that's a part of it. And then the other part of it is changing the way people experience information and education. You know, I struggled in math when I was a kid and I never got the help that I needed. I'd ask the teacher to help me and basically that she noticed already. And I vowed to never make someone feel that way from my actions. And so I really bring a lot of empathy and patience to what I do. And just changing the perception of the finance industry and showing people that you can have fun, you can have something who is chill and wants to see you grow and empower you and help you get ahead. And that is also part of my legacy of providing a safe, enjoyable space for people to learn about money. So yeah, I would say those two things.
I love that. I love safe, enjoyable space because some financial advisors or financial professionals are very like structured and like, no, you have to do this. No, you have to do that. And they kind of just come with like this bossy attitude, right? And you're like, then you don't even want to like do what they said, right? Because you're like, okay, you don't even get me. You're not trying to let me live. And we still want to live along the way. And we just got to find ways to be responsible and be strategic about what are the plans that we're making for ourselves. So I love that you're able to support people in that. And what is one tip, if listeners want to get started today, what's one tip you think that they can implement that would make a major impact in their financial journey?
One tip, book a consultation with me. They're complimentary.
Tell us more.
Yeah, so I do offer complimentary consultations. There are advisors out there who actually charge for their consultations. The consultation is a chance for you to get to know the person and get a better idea of who they are, where they are, and some of their financial goals. And then I also offer a complimentary financial audit, which actually goes over where they are, what they have, and what's missing from their financial house so that we can elevate what they're already doing or implement things that are missing from the puzzle. And that is something that unfortunately people at the bank do not have the time to do. You know, when people go to the bank and say, I want this, they get that. You may have some people who do a little bit more digging, but I'm really giving a comprehensive, big picture look of where you are, what you have, so we can start implementing those solutions.
Yes, like everyone book a consultation with Shay because at the end of the day, if it's free, you might as well see because maybe they can learn something even if it's a short time, right? And it seems like you're willing to help. And at the same time, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you don't know what you don't know until you talk to somebody else. And then you can just see, are there gaps? Are there blind spots? It's just good to have another set of eyes. It's the same like going to the doctor. You might feel perfectly fine, but when they do that checkup, when they do those tests, they're like, oh, actually, this is a little off, right? So it's just somebody else to look at what you got going on and to just help you. And also if you just have questions, right? Sometimes you have questions and you don't know who to go to. We talked about going to people who give the wrong advice. So go to Shay. She's a licensed financial professional. She can give you the right advice, right? Shay, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for everything you shared. We're going to transition now into rapid fire. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Cookies or cake?
Cookies.
Cookies. What is a book that you think everyone should read?
The Psychology of Money.
I've heard of that. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard of it. So I got to add it to my list. Okay. What's your favorite way to fill your cup?
Go to the gym. I like to lift heavy things.
I love it for you. In 3 words, what's your version of a wealthy life? And for me, wealthy is WELLTHY.
rich in heart.
I like that. Shay, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want you to tell the people how can they get a hold of you, how they can connect with you and learn more about your services.
Yes, Natalie, thank you so much for having me. You can find me on Instagram at Finance for the Culture. Stay tuned to my page. I post any upcoming workshops that I had going on, seminars, and finance tips all the time. So I'd love to see you there. And I also follow back. So love to see you there.
Finance for the Culture, Shay's website, and all of the information, all of the links are going to be in the show notes. Shay, again, thank you so much for coming on the show and just empowering us and giving us financial knowledge so that we can level up our own game. To the listeners, continue to serve yourself, your loved ones, and your communities from Uncle Cup.